Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We'll start today totally, not totally, but another chapter of our course. I'd like for us to call this the structure of Islam. Why am I calling that? Because I'd like us, when we think Islam, we think about something in totality. You will notice that Muslims that you will deal with, some of them are putting great emphasis on ibadah. They are in the mosque all the time, and they are praying, and they are seeing the tasbih and things like that. And to them, this is mainly Islam. And the other things will come later. You will find other people with political orientation. To them, Islam is a political movement. But ibadah and the spirituality, etc., comes later on, or it doesn't come at all. You will find others who believe that Islam is legality, is law. This is haram, this is halal, this is haram, this is halal. And if you don't pay attention to that, you are doomed. And anything else is not important. I'd like you, as the active members who are carrying Islam to the future, inshallah, in this country, to acquire the ability to see Islam in its totality. On the risk of repeating a few things, which I'll try not to do, we will try to put things together in a way. So I'd like us to think about Islam according to the definition we defined, that it is a submission to God, and the oneness of God, and the oneness of the human family, and the oneness of the message, and the core elements in Islam, and the concept of life, that it is a task, and we are tested according to the task, and we are supposed to be performing on behalf of God on earth, etc. That Islam is composed of two major limbs, if you want. It's Aquida, that we just finished in the last few lessons, and Sharia. I want you to know that Sharia, because when I classify them like that, some people may think that it is part A, part B. No. Aqidah is totally dependent, Sharia is totally dependent on Aqidah, is derived from the belief system. So it is not in isolation, it's not in separation, but to study all the elements of Islam and to bring them together in our mind, we do that kind of categorization. Sharia is simply the way by which people live, the roadmap that people will take. The set of elements that will regulate our relationship with God, our relationship with each other, our relationship with the other, and our relationship with the universe. The way we do that is the Sharia. And that's, as the Quran says, وَلِكُلٍّ مِّنْهُمْ جَعَلْنَا شِرْعَةً وَمِنْهَاجًا. For each group we had their way and their system to follow. And so for us Muslims, we have to know that system we follow, and we have to know that Sharia then is that collectivity of several things that we are going to talk about based on the creed that we just finished. Sharia itself is divided into two major branches, ibadat and muamalat. Ibadat means acts of direct worship, like salah, siyam, zakah, hajj, etc. and the muamalat, dealing and the interactions and transactions between the human being and others. The Sharia, with its two branches, have purpose, have goals, and have targets, and also have roots, and have branches. It branches and rebranches, as we will see. And I want you, in the couple of classes that we will go through, to bear with me, because there is no time and there is no capacity to go into details. But we wanted to have a good idea about what it is all about. And those of you who want to excel in any branch, they are invited to do so. They can go through the exhaustive studying that lots of people go to. One thing I want you to understand, that you people that I'm talking to, the people like you, have been terribly intimidated by others telling them you don't know anything about Islam, and so they throw at you the jargon, and you feel very intimidated and paralyzed. The purpose of our teaching now is not to make you experts or muftis or imams or anything, to make you familiar with the subject, so that you can know what is false and what's true, or at least you can know what's questionable and how to question it. Then it is up to you people to find your way around. I will start by the goals of Sharia. Sharia has certain basic goals. Collectively, it has been said in a very eloquent way. I'll say it in Arabic, then translate. تحقيق مصالح العباد في المعاش والمعاد. To actualize the interests and the benefits to people in this life and in the hereafter. Collectively, this is what Sharia is for. So this should remind us sharply that astaghfirullah, Sharia is not to benefit God. He doesn't need anything. When we talk about Sharia, we are talking about a system and about attitude that will help us, will recognize and guarantee our interests and the benefits in this life and in the hereafter. When this is translated into values, there is one basic value. There are other values that are not as basic as this one. One basic value is justice. And the Quran says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent his messengers and sent down for them from above high the book and the mizan, the scale of balance, and the clear signs. The purpose of that, لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ, so that people stand up dealing with each other in equity. So any system, and let us understand that clearly, any system that violates justice, no matter what kind of claims that system may claim, no matter what title that system may choose for itself, no matter what slogan or what banner, if justice is violated, then this is not Sharia. It's important for you to understand that, because you live at a time when everybody is claiming Sharia and applying Sharia, and this is the Islamic Kingdom, and this is the Islamic Republican, and this is the Islamic Jamahiriya, and this is the Islamic Jumhuriya. Where is the beef? Is there justice or not? If there is no justice, call it whatever you want to call it. This is not Sharia. If there is justice, this is Sharia, even if it is not called so. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya, one of the great scholars of Islam, the student of Ibn Taymiyyah, said very enlightening words. He said, wherever justice is established and its morning is clear and its light is prevailing, there is Sharia. So this is his precondition to consider that there is Sharia. And if there is no justice, there is no Sharia. Someone will say, but this is, this is so generalized, because justice to you may not be justice to me. And justice at a certain time may be injustice at another time. I accept that. But I'll go to things that are clearly, unanimously will be accepted by all people as just or unjust. We'll go to what is a wonderful element called common sense, which is in Quranic language al-urf. These terms are not created here. They have their roots and origins in religions. And the Quran, when it talks about al-urf, means ma nata'arafu alayh, that something will be clear and acceptable to our general collectivity. So if these things are violated with that standard, don't talk to me about Sharia anymore. If I go in a country where women are treated unfairly, and I think it can be very clear, I don't have to go through the details, there is no Sharia. When a mufti, a grand mufti of a country, says about women who drove cars, he calls them prostitutes, and he gets away with it without being slashed and flogged 100 times for each woman, there is no justice there, there is no Sharia. I don't care who he is, how much Quran he might recite, or how many hadiths he may throw at you. When you go to a country where there is oppression and the opposition is not allowed and the jails are filled with people without trial and there is torture, etc., no matter what kind of title, it's not Sharia. And so on and so forth. So the main value that Sharia will establish is justice. It comes wrapped up in mercy, it comes wrapped up in compassion, it comes wrapped up in considering different circumstances, but clearly justice should be protected and should not be violated, and should not tilt according whether this justice is for you or against you, for your people or against your people. لا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا. Don't let the animosity of people swerve you away from justice. So that's about the main value that Sharia will actualize, so that it guarantees the benefits of people in this life and in the hereafter. Sharia also will have certain purposes, that at the end of the day people should live in a certain way, should live together in a certain way. And so you will find that I'll set aside now the ibadat. Why? Because they are countable and they are known, and we know that in ibadat we are supposed to follow the model. And let me just talk a moment about following the model here. الأصل في العبادة الاتباع. What does it mean? Means that the way of doing ibadah is to follow what you have been shown by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I don't come to Dhuhr and say, Prophet Muhammad prayed it 4 rak'ahs, let us pray it 5 or 3. Because, and why 4 and why not? Wouldn't 6 be better? No, there is no discussion here. In acts of direct worship, it is to follow the model. We have been told that. It is a relationship, a direct expression of relationship between you and Allah. This doesn't mean that it is ritualistic. It is not a ritual. It is something that's supposed to reflect on you and on the way you deal with others. In other words, al-ibadat should affect al-muamalat. And this is why when we talk about prayer, inna as-salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. Prayer should suppose to deter you from doing outrageous actions or things counter to reason. That ibadah, that thing that people call a ritual, is supposed to be translated into an attitude that you will adopt in doing your muamalat, your actions and interactions with people. In fasting, the Prophet says that one who fasts and all what he gained is thirst and hunger. Why? Because he was cursing people, he was insulting people, he was eating the rights of other people, etc. So that fasting is supposed to reflect at the end in a way that you deal with people. And Hajj, the same thing. You have been ليشهدوا منافع لهم وليذكروا الله في أيام معلومات. So it is to realize certain interests and benefits for the people. And zakah, of course, the example is clear. So although it is an act of worship, nonetheless it reflects on the way we deal and we act and interact. Having said that, I think all of you know the main ibadah in Islam and how it is done, and there are differences in the performance according to the different schools of thoughts, but they are not in the substance. And some people are very troubled. How come somebody say put your hand like this and somebody put your hand? Aren't all of them following the model of the Prophet? Sure, but how do we know that he didn't do it in different ways? And whoever saw him doing it this way is doing it this way, whoever saw him doing this. Why do we entangle ourselves in that? It is not affecting the substance of the prayer. And so we should not get tangled in this issue, and we accept ibadat with the great emphasis that it is something between me and Allah, a performance I do that should be realized in my dealings with others in the area of muamalat. And we remember that until we get together again in the next class, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.